It's December 26th, 2022nd year of our Lord. It is Monday. And if it's Monday, it is time for the Monday morning review of the NFL week number 16. And what happened in week 16? Well, most of the games were played on Saturday. Yesterday was Christmas, today's Monday. And nothing was decided for the most point. Nothing was really decided in the NFL as far as the playoff picture that wasn't decided already. So here we go. Ready to get down to it? Let's get to it. Welcome, 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 everybody. Let me just adjust the lights. Okay. Make sure you can see me. I'm ready to rock and roll. We have the sound on. Yeah, we got sound. We did do a show last week where sound didn't show up and we didn't know about it. Well, that made for an interesting thing. I should have had a closed caption, but I didn't. That video is now deleted. We don't have to worry about that. That was the Friday morning preview of the NFL. Let's get ready on. Let's get on it. Now, let's start with Saturday's games. Okay. Actually, there were some Friday games. Let's just get to those. No. Actually, there was Saturday and Sunday. So there was Saturday and Sunday games. Let's get to the Saturday games. The Buffalo Bills traveled to Chicago, Illinois to play the Chicago Bears, of course, and they slapped up on them 35-13. Now, I expected that. I'm sure everyone expected that. The only surprise was the Chicago Bears actually trotted out their star quarterback, Justin Fields, to get beat up. This was after they watched him getting beat up last week in a meaningless game because they were already eliminated. But I can't phantom it. But somehow they decided, let's do it again. Now, the season's over, Chicago. If you have half a brain, you don't want this guy hurt. You don't need him hurt. He's the only thing you have. So you might as well just save him for next year because you have already blasted away this year. But no. They trotted him right back out to this week, and he got beat up again. I should not be surprised, okay? Because anything that can be done stupid, I should expect Chicago Bear management to do it because that's just par for the course. There's, stupid Bears. And we are talking about the Bears, okay? It's just par for the course. Let's just move on. The New Orleans Saints walked into Cleveland Stadium and defeated the Cleveland Browns 17-10. Now, I had this one wrong. The reason being was I thought because Deshaun Watson was now the quarterback 4 games into the season, his season, they would try to make a statement. I mean, the team would rally around this, even though they were eliminated, they're not going to go anywhere. They would rally around this chance to actually have a star quarterback and to produce. Yeah, that's what I thought. But I was wrong. They're not looking to make a statement. The Cleveland Browns team as a whole, not Deshaun Watson, I'd have to say the rest of them, are looking to end the season quickly and quietly. And they're 2 games away from that. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs slap-chopped. You remember those slap-chop it. Well, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs slap-chopped the Seattle Seahawks 24-10. I had this one wrong. I predicted that Seattle might put up more of a fight because they're fighting for a playoff spot. They are still in the running for a playoff spot. So they would show more mettle against the Kansas City Chiefs because, see, the Kansas City Chiefs have already clinched. They really don't have anything to play for. Maybe home field advantage, but they've already made their mark. They're in, and they're in deeply. So the Seattle Seahawks against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Seattle just flopped. They gave up the ghost. I was wrong. The Seahawks are a cooked bird. Stick a fork in them, and you will find out that they are well done. Now, excuse me. I picked up a little cold here in Boston. It was like 10 degrees over the weekend. I went from sunny southwestern Florida to cold, frigid northeastern Boston temperature, and it almost killed me. So I picked up a little cold. Now, speaking of somebody who picked up, well, we'll just move on. The New York Football Giants. The New York Football Giants traveled all the way from New York City around there, New Jersey, to Minneapolis, Minnesota to take on the Vikings. And they got beat by them, 27-24. Now, I predicted that New York might win because they have to win this game, sort of, kind of, in order to make the playoffs. But I was wrong. Yes, I was wrong. They found a way to lose. They had a chance to win, but they found a way to lose. In the last 6 games, the New York Giants have lost 4 games, tied 1 game, and won just 1 game out of the last 6. That is not a recipe for success. That is a recipe for failure. And I'm sure they had a long time to discuss it on the way home on that losing plane ride. Sorry, Giants. Let's move on. Let's move on to my Detroit Lions, your Detroit Lions, America's Detroit Lions. America's Detroit Lions. Yes, they traveled to Carolina, Charlotte, Carolina, and they were beaten, declawed, tamed, caged by the Carolina Panthers, 37-23. Now, this game was never close. It was 24-7 Carolina at halftime. And after that, the Panthers just coasted. Detroit showed that they're not ready for prime time yet. They made a big fuss and a big noise. They won a bunch of games in a row. They looked like they were on the verge of making the playoffs since Jim Thorpe was in the Olympics. But wrong. They're not ready for prime time. The brass ring was right in their hands if they had have won this game, but it proved to be too heavy for them to hold on to, and they dropped it. The Baltimore Ravens. Yes, the Baltimore Ravens, nevermore. Lamar Jackson might not be playing for them nevermore, but nevermore. The Ravens invited the Atlanta Falcons, another bird of the feather, into Baltimore and then mugged them 17-9. Now, it wasn't much of a mugging. It was just a gentle roughing up because there was not that many points scored. It was just a back and forth affair of ineptitude on display on the field in front of our eyes. Now, for Atlanta, they actually shelved the running game for the most part. Well, also Baltimore helped that because they just stuffed their running game. But they let Desmond Ridder air it out, something they didn't let Marcus Mariota do, who was the quarterback, who packed up his bags and said, see you later. You're just such a woeful, woebegone organization. I don't even want to be here anymore. Forget about being backup. I don't even want to be here. So Marcus Mariota packed up his clothes, took his marbles, and went home. So Desmond Ridder, the rookie, is now the quarterback. They let him air it out, but it didn't matter. They got the same result, a loss. Now, speaking about the Ravens, even with this win, the future looks cloudy for the Ravens because Lamar Jackson looks to be out for the season, and that includes the playoffs. And if that's the case, the Ravens are going to have a quick exit once they reach the playoffs. Anybody can beat them with Malik Willis as their quarterback. Sorry to give good people bad news, Baltimore, but that's the truth. Now, the Houston Texans, they flew into Nashville, Tennessee, to take on the Titans. And they laid a beat down on the Titans. Now, to be fair, the Titans were without their star quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. He had ankle surgery just yesterday. He was out for the game on Saturday, and he had ankle surgery. I probably had ankle surgery. I don't know if he had it on Christmas Day, but somewhere around there, right during the game or whatever. He was out, and they took him, and he had ankle surgery. Now, since they were out without their starting quarterback, they had to go with the backup. Oh, my gosh. Now, the backup to Tennessee is Malik Willis. The backup to the Ravens is Tyler Huntley. So, just, Malik, you're not the guy there, but you're the guy here in Tennessee, okay? I mean, you lost. So that being the case, you lost. You lost the game from. And Tennessee, I don't know what you're going to do because Malik Willis did less than thrill. He threw 2 interceptions. He fumbled, and he was sacked 4 times. The future does not look bright for the Titans. And at one time, They led that division by 3 games. 3 games. But now they look like they're done for the season, and they are in a tie with the Carolina Panthers, who beat Detroit for that division. And I think Carolina's going to take it. The Titans don't seem to have any fight left, nor should they. Even if they were to get in the playoffs, they'd get trounced and bounced in the very first round. So it would be less painful for everybody if they just balled on out right now. Just let go of the ghosts and go safely into the night, quietly into the night. Now, Tennessee, they're going to have some help doing that because next week they face Dallas, and Dallas still thinks they have a chance at the division championship in their division. So Dallas is going to help them slide quietly into the night. Good luck with that, Tennessee. The Washington Commanders wasted good airfare, time, and money traveling to San Francisco to get mistreated by the 49ers 37-20. Now, it sounds pretty bad, right? 37-20. The Commanders got beat by 17 points. But the score was 7-7 at halftime. It was actually a tie game at halftime. Too bad the Commanders couldn't get on the plane and just left right then, because they would have avoided the embarrassment. For in the second half, they were outscored 30-13. And it would have been more than that had the 49ers not felt merciful, being in the Christmas spirit at all, and just coasted the last quarter. Excuse me. Oh, you can see that. You got a little cold there in the throat and whatever. But you know what? You don't get anywhere in this world by just chumping out and being tough. So you got to push through it. And that's what I am doing. Actually, I should just say that my wife pushed me to do this. She says, "You're not jumping out. Get up there." So I came up to the studio here in Boston, and I'm going to do the show. And I'm doing the show. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, we were just speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, who are going to play the Tennessee Titans next week and put the boots to them, the cowboy boots at that. They played host to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles are flying high, but their quarterback, Jalen Hurts, was injured. And so Dallas held them up at 6 gunpoint for a 40-34 win. Dallas took advantage of the fact that Jalen Hurts was out. And they went up against the backup, the Eagles' backup, Gardner Minshew. Now, Gardner Minshew has been around, and he has established himself as a pretty good quarterback. So he came in and he filled in quite admirably. But he just came up short at the end, and that's why the score is 40-34. They only lost by 6. They were in the game all the way, and if they had a couple of breaks, they might have won it, which bodes well for Philadelphia in the future when Jalen Hurts come back, and they might have to face the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs. Now, speaking on to surging teams, moving on to surging teams that look like they're gaining momentum, let's move on to the Los Angeles Raiders, because they won last week against the New England Patriots on a game-ending lateral whatever debacle that it's just gone into the annals in the history of the NFL. It's one of the most stupidest plays that anyone could ever have tried. And, of course, they backfired and went wrong. But the Raiders won that game. And so with a little momentum, they rolled into Pittsburgh, and they were ironed out by the Steelers. Yeah. The Steelers won 13-10. 13-10. 13-10. It wasn't much of a game. Derek Carr looked his usual woeful self. He was 16 for 30 for a whopping 173 yards. He threw 3 interceptions and was sacked 3 times for 31 yards. This guy's with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers is $50 million men. And you wonder, well, anyway, let's just move on. Suffice to say, the Raiders lost and are still at the bottom of that division. For Sunday's games, We are going to begin with Green Bay. The aforementioned Aaron Rodgers was on display in Miami. Green Bay flew to Miami to play the Dolphins. Now, just think of that. Green Bay, Wisconsin is way up there in the north, close to Canada. Right, after that, it is Canada, right on Lake Michigan, on that far side, left side, as we would say. And it's cold as heck up there. So by going to Miami, Florida, Green Bay was already ahead in the game of life. And then they went down there and spanked the Miami Dolphins. Spanked them. They went from 70-degree weather in Green Bay down to 50-degree weather in Miami. Now, if I was them, I would have left a couple of days early. Forget about it. Be down there a couple of days. Just relax. But, who knows what they did. Still, they were not in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They were in Miami, Florida. So no matter how you look at it, they were doing all right. And then they went down there and they beat them 26-20. Yes, the Dolphins, who started off so great and made so many people high and enthused that they might do something. Reminiscent of the Dolphins of the 70s with Greasy and Zonka. And then fast forward to Marino, the Dolphins were being relevant again. Or the Dolphins were relevant once again. At one time, they led the division. But now they have lost their last 4 games. The Dolphins. Now, I don't know about you, but when a team loses 4 games in a row, I don't think they're going too far as playoff contention. But they're still in the playoffs contention. The Dolphins do not seem serious about winning. They seem more concerned about swimming in perfect circles, making flipper noises, and playing to the crowd or catching fish in their mouth. But they don't seem to be concerned about winning a football game, which has none of those other needs. You don't have to swim in perfect circles or catch fish with their mouth in order to win a football game. Maybe catch a football and run with it, and score a touchdown, field goal, those type of things win a football game. That being said, the Dolphins are still in the hunt for a playoff spot. How? I don't know. But the NFL has been putrid this year. Adding 17 games, making a 17-game season, these guys should probably just quit at 14. We would probably get a better product, and maybe all of these quarterbacks that are out, because as I go through all this, you keep noticing this quarterback's out, that quarterback's out, this quarterback's out, that quarterback's out. Maybe they could save the quarterbacks if it's a 17-game season, a 14-game season, and get into the playoffs and produce some quality football. Because right now we have a lot of junk. Terrible. Okay. But in the game, in one of the most exciting games of the weekend, the Los Angeles Rams, who won the Super Bowl last year, and everybody had favored to win this year, but that's not going to happen. Anyway, they took on the Denver Broncos, and they headbutted them into submission, 51-14. Now, with a score so lopsided, you probably have already guessed that Russell Wilson was the starting quarterback for the Broncos, for them to get beat 51-14. Yes, Russell Wilson was on the field impersonating a quarterback once again for the Broncos. And after 6 sacks and 3 interceptions and sabotaging any chance Denver had of winning the game, they lifted him out, and his day was over. They could have done this far sooner. Probably should not have started him. The season is over, and even though I think Russell Wilson is a terrible quarterback, you might as well save him for next year, since you're paying him $50 million a year. There's no need to trot him out there in a meaningless game just so he can sabotage whatever chance you had of winning it. But then again, I'm not the GM. Anyway, both of these two teams are eliminated from playoff contention, but the game still had to be played. And in the final game of the weekend, the final game from Thursday to Saturday to Sunday night game featured Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers eking out a 19-16 win over the hapless, woeful, decimated Arizona Cardinals. It was a boring affair. What else can I say? Just leave it at that. It was nothing too exciting about this game. The Cardinals were without starting quarterback Kyler Murray. As well, they were without backup quarterback Colt McCoy. So they had to go with the backup to the backup Tracy McSorley, who had never started a game in the NFL. That being said, he still put up 16 points on the sorry Tampa Bay defense. Yeah, that star-studded defense that is supposed to be so darn good. They gave 16 points to a bottom-dwelling team, and the people that a lot of fans. Well, our defense. Anytime you play a good team, you get trampled, and you should have shut these guys out. You should have took the ball away from Arizona, and you didn't do it. Lucky they fumbled themselves. Just gave you the ball, or else you would have lost. That being said, they put up 16 points on the Tampa Bay defense. Tom Brady was behind 10 points, as usual, going into the fourth quarter, and he rallied the team and came back to win the game. Now, I think we all know, give Tom Brady a chance. He's going to come back and win the game. And you're playing against Arizona. You should have, if you had, why even go into it? It's just been a dismal year for Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers. A team that was in playoff contention heavily last year. I think they won 11 games. I think they just have won 7 now, and with 2 games to go. How did that happen? How did Tampa Bay go from being one of the better teams in the league to look like a team that, for the most part, looks like they have never played football? Now, defense is much easier to play in the sense that you're using athletes, and for offense, you need coordination. And they show no coordination on defense or offense. There's no continuity on the whole team. They play disjointed on defense and offense. And this happened in 1 year after they appointed Todd Bowles as head coach. You do the math. Anyway, the Bucs look to clinch the division next week when they take on the Carolina Panthers. But if I was a Bucs fan or a betting man, I wouldn't put any money up on the game as far as betting on Tampa Bay. The Panthers, with that coach Steve Wilks, look like I'm not going to say they look like the real deal. They got Sam Darnold. They are winning with Sam Darnold. Steve Wilks took a Carolina Panther team that had been gutted by management, and left for dead. He took that team and had Baker Mayfield on it. And now they could win this. They could win this division. And in my opinion, they should. If they beat Tampa Bay next week and win their last game, they will win the division. And they are an exciting team to watch. Tampa Bay is not. So with that, I got to let you guys go. I am running behind schedule because I talk too darn much, but I have so much fun doing it. Live from Boston in 10-degree weather. There, they say this, the river's frozen up outside of my house. There should be polar bears walking out there because if it's too warm in the Arctic, they could come here. It definitely is cold enough here for them to have to stay in life. And they can eat a lot of, well, we won't go into that. We'll just let it go. Okay? Everyone have a good day. It's December 26th on the Amazing Grace Sports Network, reviewing, recapping, and going over what went down, and what happened in the NFL over the weekend. That includes Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday in Week 16. Hope you guys had a good time. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. I sure did. And Merry Christmas to you all, and Happy New Year's. Christmas is over, but we're still celebrating the spirit of it. Merry Christmas to all of you. Take care and goodbye.